CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Los Angeles Rams against Cincinnati Bengals.
From Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. It has been raining all morning, however, with the grounds crew using a Zamboni to get rid of the water, field conditions should be pretty good. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery, and somehow, John, I think that both coaches have really earned their money this week. First of all, John Robinson of the Rams going from one quarterback situation to another.
John Robinson still has a quarterback problem. Before Ferragamo's injury, he had the problem of straightening out a veteran quarterback who was going bad. Now he has to deal with young Jeff Kemp and figure out a way to take the pressure off him. And Jim and I, we both know how you do that.
You better believe it. Give it to Eric Dickerson to run it 30, 35 times. Now, on the other side of the field, Cincinnati Bengal head coach Sam White, 0-3, and wondering what in the world he has to do to get into the win column.
Many thought that the Cincinnati Bengals would be a playoff team, especially with the arrival of James Brooks. They thought he'd do it on the ground, be the big play man, but he hasn't been. So they've had to rely on Kenny Anderson's arm. He's thrown for over 300 yards, but it hasn't been enough, so they're 0-3. So we have a classic difference of styles. We have the Rams on the ground and the Bengals through the air. Jim?
Well, John, Cincinnati has won the toss and has elected to receive. Mike Lansford is all set to kick off for the Los Angeles Rams. Back deep for the Bengals, number 21, James Brooks, and number 36, Stanford Jennings. As we mentioned, it has been raining most of the morning here in the Cincinnati area. It stopped just a couple of moments ago. The field is relatively dry. Here's the kickoff, and our ball game is underway. James Brooks at about the 1. And James Brooks is tackled by Mark Giroux just outside the 20-yard line, and that's where the Bengals will take over 1st and 10. The starting offensive backfield and receivers for Cincinnati: Kenny Anderson, James Brooks, who just returned the opening kickoff, Charles Alexander, Chris Collinsworth, and Isaac Curtis, a veteran wide receiver. The offensive line, a massive one: Emil Harris at the tight end, Anthony Munoz, Brian Blados, Dave Remington, Max Montoya, and Mike Wilson. 1st and 10 for Cincinnati at their 22. Anderson back to pass. Complete out on the flat to Brooks. Brooks is hit there by Nolan Cromwell. The defensive alignment for the Los Angeles Rams, they're in the classic 3-4 with 3 down linemen. Up front, Jack Youngblood, the veteran, Greg Meisner, and Reggie Doss. The linebackers, Mel Owens, Carl Eckern, Jim Collins, and George Andrews. And in the secondary, Gary Green, Leroy Irvin, Nolan Cromwell at strong safety. Vince Newsom starting now at the free safety today because Eric Harris is out with a rib injury. 2nd down, and it's Anderson back again, play action pass. This time he's going deep for Chris Collinsworth. Just off his fingertips, Vince Newsom in defending.
The Bengal game plan is very simple. Get the ball to Chris Collinsworth, throw in the intermediate zones until you break one open. Vince Newsom is in. He's substituting for Eric Harris. You mentioned the switch. Cromwell goes to strong safety. Vince Newsom should have had better coverage. That ball off the hands of Collinsworth.
Kind of strange because all the Bengals were talking about yesterday, John, was we got to run. First 2 times out of the box today, they put the ball up in the air. 3rd and 7 from the Bengal 25-yard line. Kenny Anderson in at quarterback. And he's back to pass for the 3rd straight time. And it's complete out in the flat to Stanley Wilson, number 32. Leroy Irvin defending for the Rams.
Jim, I think the Cincinnati Bengals know where their bread is buttered. They are one of the best passing teams in the NFL. As a matter of fact, they're ranked number 2 in the entire league. And Kenny Anderson has the ability to cut up a zone if you sit in it the way the Rams have been doing for the first series.
Yeah, because we know that the Rams have been vulnerable to the pass so far this year. So it's 4th and 3 at the Bengal 29-yard line. Pat McAnally into punt for Cincinnati. Henry Ellard back to receive for Los Angeles. McAnally gets off a good high punt. Henry Ellard at the 22. And Ellard fumbles the ball. And the Rams get it back.
Remember, Sam Weiss was telling us that special teams have killed his Cincinnati Bengals over the last few weeks, so much so that he put a lot of the veterans on the special teams. There again, a mistake, but they dodged the bullet.
So young Jeff Kemp gets his first starting assignment, replacing Vince Ferragamo, Eric Dickerson in the backfield, along with Mike Guman, Drew Hill, and Henry Eller, the wide receivers. Up front, David Hill, Bill Bain, Kent Hill, Doug Smith, Dennis Hara, and Jackie Slater. Offensive line have had their problems so far this year, giving up 10 quarterback sacks. First and 10 from the 24 for Los Angeles. Hand off to Dickerson. Eric Dickerson, tackled by Ross Browner. Ross Browner, the veteran defensive lineman. Here's a look at the line for the defensive line for Cincinnati. Eddie Edwards, Tim Crumry, and Ross Browner, who just made the tackle. Guy Frazier, Rick Lozano, Glenn Cameron, and Reggie Williams, the secondary guys in the linebacking core. Here's the secondary: Louis Breeden, Ray Horton, Jimmy Turner, and Robert Jackson. 2nd and 9 from the 25 for Los Angeles. Eric Dickerson, the lone setback. Hand off to Dickerson again. Dickerson met there first at the line of scrimmage by Eddie Edwards.
The game plan for the Rams is very simple. Give the ball to Dickerson 35 or 40 times. Try to run it at least 50 times to take the pressure off young Jeff Kemp. Kemp, of course, starting his first NFL game. They're looking for a way to establish something. The offensive line hasn't been able to find the consistency and effectiveness for the Rams yet.
So it is 3rd and 8 for Los Angeles at their 26.5-yard line. Toss back to Dickerson. And he slips and falls just over the 25-yard line. Coming up to touch Dickerson there is number 35, Jimmy Turner.
And, Jim, we mentioned that it rained early this morning for about the last 6 or 7 hours. It's just about stopped now with a light drizzle, but that time Dickerson tried to cut, slipped on the turf. I think it will affect the Rams' running game.
Well, Eric has had a history of slipping, especially on AstroTurf, even when he performs well. John Misko is in now to punt for Los Angeles. Ray Horton back to receive the punt for Cincinnati. This is Horton at the 35. And Ray Horton, brought down by Vince Newsom. And that's where the Bengals will take their second possession here in the first period. With early in the first period, there is no score, and there is a timeout on the field. Because he's getting rid of those old shoes that he had on.
Are those the famous $9 SMU shoes? Yeah. Think the Rams could afford something a little more expensive than that?
Well, I tell you, he's got to get rid of those, which is what he's doing, because he's going to need everything he can get. Here's Kenny Anderson, handing off to Stanley Wilson. Wilson tackled by Nolan Cromwell.
It was interesting to watch Stanley Wilson. Now, he's been away for a month with the problem of chemical dependency. He's just back. He practiced the last 3 days. Sam Weiss said he's running well. He's not sore. He looks good. And that time, he got a nice gain on the ground for the Cincinnati Bengals. Something the Bengals need badly. A shot in the arm on the ground from somebody. They haven't been able to run on the ground.
Well, they just picked up 8 yards, so it'll be 2nd and 2 from their own 41-yard line. Anderson handing off to Wilson again. Tackle there made by Jim Collins and Vince Newsom coming up from the secondary along with Carl Eckern.
You know, most people thought it would be James Brooks doing it for the Cincinnati Bengals, as I mentioned, but he's averaging less than 2 yards a carry, so the return of Stanley Wilson, very important for the Bengals this afternoon.
And it looks like the Bengals are really going to try and confuse the Rams. The opening series, they did nothing but throw. Now they come back, they do nothing but run. 1st and 10 at their own 47-yard line. Anderson back to pass. Complete to Collinsworth, and he is hit immediately there by number 27, Gary Green. So Chris Collinsworth, who has signed a contract to play in Tampa Bay of the USFL, according to his coach, is playing just as hard as ever and coming up with big receptions all year.
He's having a fantastic year, and it's really a measure of the character of the man as he just hooks quickly in front of the defensive back, makes the catch. But Collinsworth coming into the game at 19 catches, at 334 yards, almost 18 yards a catch. He's having a great year so far.
Anderson hands off to Wilson. And Stanley Wilson doing an excellent job here early in the first period of picking his holes. And it looks like he picked up enough yardage there for the first down tackle made by Carl Eckert.
And that's a huge offensive line. They average 281 pounds. They're getting off the ball, providing the surge. See them knocking the Rams back, and that's what did it for the first down.
Checking into the backfield, Larry Kennebrew and James Brooks now for Cincinnati. Anderson back to pass. Going deep. Intercepted by Gary Green. And Green slips and falls at the 15-yard line. Tackle there made by Isaac Curtis.
The reason that happened was the backside rush by George Andrews, number 52, coming from his right outside linebacker position. Just as Anderson was about to throw the ball, he was hit. The ball was underthrown. Green comes up with it. Take a look at it here. Green, good coverage down the sideline. He sees it's underthrown, catches the ball, starts his run back, but slips, gets a good block right there from number 22, Vince Newsom, and slips right there. But Anderson was hit just as he was throwing the ball. Take a look at the right side of your screen, number 52. That's Andrews right here. See? Takes some velocity off the ball, thus the interception. He threw 4 last week. He throws another one here early, so the Bengals are having their problem. We have no score at Riverfront Stadium. We'll be right back.
The Rams have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 15-yard line. Dwayne Crutchfield in the backfield now with Eric Dickerson. The Rams are going to have a lot of that today with 2 men in the backfield. Hand off to Crutchfield. Crutchfield getting up the middle of the line. Tackle there made by Tim Crumrye.
Sam Weiss along the sidelines in his first year. A lot of pressure on this man. People are asking around Cincinnati, when are you going to win your first game? And he's getting fed up of hearing it. He has that nice guy image. I think he's getting a little irritable, a little hot under the collar. He wants that first victory.
Remember he told us yesterday that he can't sleep at night. He's getting zits all on his face and everything else, trying to figure out what in the heck's going on.
And he said, you know, I don't really look good.
2nd and 7 at the 18 for Los Angeles. Jeff Kemp handing off to Crutchfield again. Crutchfield bullying his way, it looks like, over the 20-yard line. Tackle made by Crumrye again. Some scores from other games today in the first period. It's New Orleans leading St. Louis 3-0. Atlanta over Houston 7-0 in the first period. Minnesota over Detroit 7-0 also in the first quarter. And Kent Hill is leaving the ball game. Hill had an injury earlier in the week. This time it looks like it's something to his left arm or his left shoulder. He's replaced by Russ Bollinger.
Of course, Ken Hill, one of their fine offensive linemen, #1 draft choice back in '79. They'll miss him.
3rd and 4 for Los Angeles from their own 21-yard line. Eric Dickerson and Dwayne Crutchfield in the backfield for Los Angeles. Jeff Kemp, the quarterback. Kemp handing off to Dickerson. Eric Dickerson. Tackle there made by Lewis Breeden.
And again, they couldn't get their footing. If you saw that play, Dwayne Crutchfield, number 45, was leading the play. He couldn't get his footing to make the block on the defensive back from the Cincinnati Bengals, and thereby the back got off and made the tackle on Dickerson. Here, take a look. Dickerson cuts off field. That's the man. See Crutchfield on the ground. He couldn't get a block on number 34, Lewis Breeden. He made the tackle.
4th and 2, John Misko into punt for Los Angeles. Ray Horton. He's smothered at the 35-yard line. Tackle there made by Mark Giroux of Los Angeles again. So with 7 minutes and 34 seconds left in the first period, there's no score. Los Angeles and Cincinnati. With John Dockery, I'm Jim Hill. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. No score in our ball game. 7 minutes, 34 seconds left. The Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 35-yard line. Stanley Wilson and Charles Alexander in the backfield. Anderson tossed back to Wilson. Stanley Wilson tackled there by number 52, George Andrews. And John Robinson really has to be concerned, I would think, at this juncture, John, because the Bengals are running, even though they haven't been running that well in this particular series of the last couple, but in the second series of this afternoon, they really had gaping holes and were running.
Exactly. And he had hoped that his offense would be able to control the ball and keep it away from Kenny Anderson and the Cincinnati Bengal offense, which is very explosive.
2nd and 6 from the 39. Hand off to Wilson again. And Wilson twisting and turning, almost breaking loose. Gary Green in on the tackle.
Last year, he had a 4.8-yard average on the ground. Today, after not practicing for a month, just coming back for a few days this week, they watch the lead block by number 40. Charles Alexander gets a good block, and watch his second effort. Oh, what balance. Stanley Wilson doing the job for the Bengals.
First and 10 for Cincinnati at their own 47. And off to Wilson again. Getting to the outside. Leroy Irvin coming up to make the tackle, along with Jim Collins. It is really amazing, this particular story about Stanley Wilson, because we know about the problems that he had, and Sam White was just he praised him so much, and how the team has really welcomed him back with open arms.
And they really want to see him do well. Interesting that he carries the ball on the inside arm, then switches it right there. That can be dangerous. Why not keep it in your outside arm? Keep that inside arm free for the straight arm.
Second and 2 from their own 45-yard line, for the Ram 45-yard line. Going right up the middle. The Bengals continuing to run. Number 36, Stanford Jennings.
Well, Sam Weiss also said to his offensive line, things got a little testy this week. He said to his Cincinnati Bengals team, you know what? It's time, gentlemen, to either put up or shut up. We're 0-3. Yeah, we could have won a couple of those games, but we haven't. Now let's do it. I'm telling the offensive line, you better get off the ball. We need a running game. We got to do it against the Rams. And right now, they are doing it.
He wants this Bengals team to have a nasty attitude, and right now they're controlling the game. First and 10 at the Ram 42. Toss back to James Brooks. And Brooks delivered a blow on Leroy Irvin before finally being tackled by Carl Eckert. Also, Gary Green in on the tackle. James Brooks, he told us yesterday, we know he's not that big, and he says, I really like to run up the middle. He just tried to run over Irvin right then, along before Carl Eckert came over and made the tackle.
I know, and he's a small guy. Look at the size of him. James Brooks is only 5'10", if he's that tall, but he can run the ball, averaging over 4 yards a carry. He's only 182 pounds. I was amazed when he said, I like to run up the middle because it's the quickest way to the goal line.
Second and 10 from the Ram 42. And Anderson goes back on a draw play. Larry Kinnebrew, 6'1", 252 pounds.
They talked about Pete Johnson many years here. Larry Kinnebrew is the man that has to provide the power for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now that Pete Johnson has gone to San Diego, now he's with Miami. Kinnebrew picking up the slack, providing some power.
The tackle was made by Vince Newsom, who only weighs 179 pounds. So I don't think Vince wants to see too much more of Larry Kinnebrew this afternoon. First and 10 from the Ram 32-yard line. The Bengals shifting their backs in and out. Stanley Wilson again. George Andrews in for Los Angeles. And George Andrews is the kind of linebacker, as he was telling us yesterday, he knows he has to perform and he has to play well, and he told us, he said, hey, we have to tackle well. We also have to do a little blitzing because we know that the defensive front three not giving us the kind of pass rush that they really should.
It's not a dominant front three like the Jets have or like the Raiders have or maybe the San Francisco 49ers. It's a very average front three.
Second and 7 from the Ram 29. Anderson on the draw play. Charles Alexander. And there are flags on the play. Vince Newsom in making the tackle for Los Angeles.
Defense, number 85. Offside, refused. First down.
Jack Youngblood called for being offside. That's Fritz Silva, our referee for today.
Charles Alexander on the draw. Good lead block there. Alexander running well. He's been criticized. They thought he was going to be something special here, but he's been a steady back. Not spectacular, but steady.
Hand off to Alexander again. Still keeping his feet, maintaining his balance. Finally being brought down by Leroy Irvin. Vince Newsom coming up to make the tackle. So Stanley Wilson, who is showing tremendous athletic ability after being out for so long. And that's one of the things that Sam Weiss was telling us. He said, this man is going to play for us a lot in this ball game, and he is already. Second and 8 from the Rams 17-yard line. Brooks up the middle. I wonder if he still likes running up the middle after being slammed to the ground there by Reggie Doss and Charles Dejournay.
Well, what a hit he took. But that defense of the Rams has to pick up the slack. When we were talking to George Andrews, he admitted that all of the defensive players and the offensive players felt with Vince Ferragamo hurt and Jeff Kemp starting his first NFL game that everyone was going to have to pick up the slack and make the big play to pick up the team.
3rd and 7 from the Rams' 16-yard line. Anderson goes back to pass. Plenty of time. Complete out in the flat. Pass complete there to Rodney Holman. Carl Eckern in on the tackle. It's going to be 4th down, just inches short of the 1st down. Sam Weiss making a big decision right here. And, of course, the crowd, you know, they wanted to really go for it. And they are.
One of the major problems the Cincinnati Bengals have had, as you listen to that crowd, is getting the ball into the end zone. 6 times last week against the Jets. They had it inside the 3. They weren't able to score.
And this is a most critical series for the Cincinnati Bengals. Stanley Wilson in the backfield. 4th and 1 from the Ram 10. Anderson sprinting out. Gets away from one tackler. Diving across the 10 into about the 8-yard line. Tackle there made by Mel Owens.
Kenny Anderson may be 34 years old in his 14th year, but he showed some nifty footwork there to get away from Eckern and pick up the 1st down. Amazing mobility for such a veteran quarterback.
That, my friends, was a pretty gutsy call, I think, by Sam Weiss. 1st and goal from the 8. Hand off to Wilson. Tackle there made by Jim Collins. Looked like Wilson was trying to get up into the line of scrimmage, kind of tiptoed. He really didn't burst it up there with a great deal of speed, and that allowed Collins to come in from his linebacker position and make the tackle.
Jim, it also looked like he was wearing ice skates. The turf is a problem for both teams. As you look at this, they've only scored 5 of 10 times inside the opposition 20-yard line. Problems putting it in. They go from 20 to 20, and then everything stops.
So this is a real confidence builder for Cincinnati if they can really get it in. 2nd and goal from the 9. And off to Wilson again. Wilson slipping coming out of the backfield before getting the handoff. Tackle made by Reggie Doss, number 71. So once again, the Bengals moving right down the field and getting close to the promised land, and all of a sudden, they just can't quite get over the hump.
And I'm a little bit surprised when you have weapons like James Brooks, who just came into the game, and you have a quarterback that has mobility and has vision, rolling out and getting into the end zone seems like a good play, and it's very effective.
And that is the end of the 1st period here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. On a rainy afternoon, the Los Angeles Rams and Cincinnati Bengals, no score. Head coach of the Bengals just made a very big decision, letting his club go for it on 4th and inches to get the 1st down. A vote of confidence because they have not had any success at all at the opposition's inside their 20-yard line all year long. 3rd and goal from the 6-yard line. Draw plays. Charles Alexander. And Charles Alexander gets down to about the 2-yard line before the tackle is made by Reggie Doss.
Defensive players are having a lot of trouble on the slippery turf also. That time, 2nd effort by Charles Alexander. And Jim, it's 4th and short. A tough decision right here. He's going to go for it. When you're 0-3, you don't have much to lose.
And I think one of his players was telling us yesterday, might as well let it all hang out.
And remember, if they get on top of the Rams here, the Rams without their starting quarterback will have a problem coming back.
4th and goal from the 2. Anderson sprinting out. And he's caught for a loss by Mel Owens. Also in on the tackle, Carl Eckern. So Mel Owens coming in and blitzing from his linebacker position, throws Kenny Anderson for a loss, and the Rams will take over 1st and 10.
Disappointment for Weiss. Someone missed a block. I like the play. Good play, poor execution. Someone missed Owens. Watch the left side of your screen. He comes untouched inside and drags down Kenny Anderson.
Remember, Sam was telling us yesterday, Sam Weiss was telling us yesterday, he says, you know, on 11 different plays, 10 people can execute perfectly, and one person will miss a block, and that's what's been killing us.
Exactly. They haven't been able to finish the play. That time, the only thing Anderson could have done was get the ball off quickly. He didn't, so we're scoreless here at Riverfront Stadium.
So after a quarterback sack by Mel Owens on Ken Anderson, in a fourth down situation, the Rams have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 12-yard line. Jeff Kemp, the quarterback, replacing Vince Ferragamo. Hand off to Dickerson. Dickerson going right up the middle of the line of scrimmage. Tackle there made by Ross Browner.
Remember last week in a similar situation when the Rams were backed up, Vince Ferragamo went back to pass, was intercepted, they ran it back for a touchdown. What the Rams have done, Jim, is self-destruct. I mean, they've thrown 10 interceptions. They've just killed themselves, and that's the major question here. Can they untrack Eric Dickerson with that big offensive line and gain control of this game?
And now another element for Jeff Kemp to have to combat. It's starting to rain again. David Hill in motion. Play action pass. Kemp completes the pass to David Hill. And the big tight end picks up enough yardage for the first down, or at least close to it. Tackle there made by number 58, Guy Frazier.
That's Jeff Kemp's first pass of the afternoon. We're in the second quarter, so we take a look at Big David Hill. I think you know that man, don't you?
Just a little bit,
Just a little bit. Here's what they set up in practice yesterday. They bring him out of the backfield. He drives upfield right there, a quick out. Kemp is looking elsewhere. He had time, finally delivers the ball to David. Ooh, he's tough to bring down.
And a nice safe pass for Kemp to make his first completion. 1st and 10 at the Ram 24-yard line. That's Guman in motion now. Kemp back to pass again. Across the middle to Guman. Mike Guman tackled again by Guy Frazier.
Interesting that Robinson took the first quarter to say, okay, Jeff Kemp, you are starting in the NFL. I don't care if you're out of Dartmouth College. I don't care if you've only thrown 48 passes. I'm going to let you get your feet wet. I'm going to let us get our feet wet as a team, and then I'm going to open it up a little bit. If we can't run with Dickerson, let's throw some short, high-percentage passes.
That's right, and it was interesting. Robinson said yesterday, we feel secure with Jeff Kemp, and he underlined the word secure. 2nd and 4 from the Ram 30-yard line. Dwayne Crutchfield in the backfield now with Eric Dickerson. Handoff to Crutchfield. Tackle made by number 51, Rick Rosano. Other scores from games this afternoon. San Francisco over Philadelphia 7-0 in the first period. Buffalo leading the Jets 10-0 also in the first quarter.
Ooh, what a surprise that is. Jets were hot last week, right?
New Orleans leading St. Louis 10-0 in the second period. Atlanta over Houston 14-0 also right there in the first period.
And Jim, one of the things the 1 and 2 Rams can't let happen is to go to 1 and 3, especially with San Francisco playing so well. You saw they're winning today.
1st and 10 from the Ram 34-yard line. Henry Ellett in motion. Kemp is back to pass. Across the middle to David Hill. David Hill bullying his way up to the 45-yard line. Tackle there made by Glenn Cameron and Rick Rosano.
Well, when you're 6'2" and 235 pounds, you can go your way around. And again, the short, safe percentage pass. Everyone says Jeff Kemp has a strong arm. I wonder about that after watching him in practice here. It doesn't require a strong arm. Just a little timing pass between the linebackers, complete, and he gets the first down.
And especially with the rain starting to come down, and it's coming down consistently, too, I would agree. 1st and 10 from the Ram 45-yard line. Eric Dickerson, the only setback for Los Angeles. Let's toss back to Dickerson. Eric Dickerson gets loose. Eric Dickerson into Bengal territory, driven out of bounds at about the Cincinnati 41-yard line. Tackle made by Robert Jackson.
And credit Mike Guman with part of that. Watch Guman on the lead block take on Jimmy Turner, number 35, right outside. There's Guman. You couldn't see the block very well. He just turned out. Let's take a look at it again. Watch Guman, number 44. He's leading the play. Good blocking by the point of attack. Look at Hill. Look at Guman on the outside. Dickerson cuts it upfield, and he's tough when he turns it up. Whew.
He certainly is. Pick up of 14 yards. 1st and 10 from the Bengal 42-yard line. Dickerson and Dwayne Crutchfield checks back in for Los Angeles. Hand off to Dickerson. Gets away from Reggie Williams. Just across the 40-yard line, and the tackle there is made by Glenn Cameron.
And you're seeing the Rams use that two-back offense, something they haven't done that much of, Jim, for a reason. because Crutchfield, on a turf like this that's slippery, when you're 6 feet and 240 pounds, that kind of a runner has better success. Also takes a little pressure off Eric and provides another blocker.
There's your time. 9 minutes, 23 seconds left here in the first half. No score between the Rams and Cincinnati Bengals. The Rams have the ball second and 7 at Cincinnati's 39-yard line. And Kemp goes back to pass. Going down the middle, and it is incomplete. Pass intended for Drew Hill.
And one of the problems Kemp had, Johnny Robinson talked about it yesterday, they say he has a strong arm, but he has trouble dropping it in when he has to. That time, his man was open on the inside. He didn't show the touch to get it to him the way he might have.
Remember, John Robinson said when Jeff Kemp passes, it's much like hitting a 2-iron shot. It's low and on a level as opposed to a 7-iron shot.
Yes.
That's correct.
Rams having their problems on third down. They're 0 for 2 at the moment.
And it's 3rd and 7. And the Bengals 39-yard line. Eric Dickerson in the backfield. Mike Guman in motion. And Kemp is back to pass. Complete to Hill. David Hill. Tackle made by Jimmy Turner.
David Hill is going to have a career this afternoon. He's already caught 3 passes for 39 yards. Coming into the game, he only had 4 for 34 yards. Kemp impresses me here. He stays in the pocket, a lot of pressure. Here he's being hit, gets the ball off to a wide-open David Hill. Seems to me that the Bengal defense is looking elsewhere. They're covering the wide receivers, but here Kemp gets pretty good protection. See Harrah pulling. He stays and he stays, and he's about to be hit from the backside. Completes the pass.
1st and 10 from Cincinnati's 21-yard line. Kemp back to pass again. Going into the end zone. And incomplete. Pass intended there for number 87, Drew Hill. Coverage made by Jimmy Turner and Lewis Breeden.
Good reaction by Lewis Breeden, who came up in that short zone, Jim. It was a post corner to Hill. Kemp threw it pretty well. He was covered, but Lewis Breeden came back from that short zone to break it up. Take a look at him, 34 on the outside. He lets Hill go, but he'll come back into your picture. Watch the right side of your screen here, and he's the man that really breaks it up. He's coming into the picture right now to make the hit. 34, bingo, can't hold on.
Good defense. 2nd and 10 from the Bengals 21-yard line. Toss back to Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson tackled by number 69, Tim Cumry, before he gets down to about the 16-yard line.
And what a block by Jackie Slater, big number 78. A man, how can a man, and he's down right there, 6'4", 271 pounds. He pulled out and laid a block on the linebacker, and right now he's on the ground. Showed great mobility for a big man.
That's Dr. Clarence Shields in the blue jacket to the right, talking with Jackie Slater, trying to see what the problem is. So with 8 minutes and 37 seconds left to go in the first half, there's no score between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Watch this play just moments ago. That's Eric Dickerson. See number 70 out to the right, 78. Jackie Slater makes a great block there on Jimmy Turner, number 35. Dickerson gets 5 yards, but Slater was shaken up. He might have fallen on his hand or his shoulder, but he appears to be all right. Jackie Slater, number 78. Nice block.
Yes, it was. Walking on the sidelines, trying to shake it off. And, of course, the Rams certainly want to get him back in there because they lost Kent Hill, number 72. They're applying all-pro offensive guard, and he has not returned to the lineup yet. So it is 3rd and 5 for the Rams. Cincinnati 16-yard line. Eric Dickerson in the backfield for Los Angeles. Jeff Kemp getting his first pro start in for Vince Ferragamo. Otis Grant in motion. And Kemp is back to pass. Pass is complete. Otis Grant, the man who went in motion, and Grant is tackled by Rick Rosano about the 8-yard line of Cincinnati.
One of the attributes that Jeff Kemp has is to play within himself and to pick out the right receiver. That time he might have had a man open in the end zone for a touchdown, but there were defensive backs around. Take a look at around here. George Farmer on the outside. Lewis Breeden covering him. He cuts inside. Now, Breeden's looking for help, but there's no one there. Kemp doesn't see him. He takes the safe completion for the first down.
And I guarantee you that the coaches have told John Robinson that George Farmer was open, wide open then in the end zone. So Los Angeles calls timeout. 7 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first half. There's no score here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Only one rushing touchdown this year for Los Angeles. That is very uncharacteristic of them.
Isn't that a shocker with a great running back like Eric Dickerson?
Well, the Rams are driving now. They have the ball first and goal at the Bengal 8-yard line. Eric Dickerson and Dwayne Crutchfield in the backfield for Los Angeles. Hand off to Crutchfield. Tackle made again by Tim Crumley as he tries to bully his way up the middle of the line of scrimmage.
And Jim, you get the feeling that the Ram offense is getting comfortable with Jeff Kemp, and that Jeff Kemp is getting comfortable with the Ram offense. He didn't have a completion in the first quarter. He didn't throw the ball in the first quarter. Now he's thrown 5 of 7 completions for 52 yards, and you see that balanced attack out there.
And the Rams feel very comfortable with him. The players do, because they respect everything that he has done in 4 years, getting to the spot he's in right now. Second and goal from the 6 for Los Angeles. Otis Grant in motion. Hand off to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson gets to the outside, and he scores. Eric Dickerson, only the second rushing touchdown for Los Angeles this year. A 6-yard run, getting to the outside, good stiff arm, diving in for the 6 points.
You know what's
But there is a flag on the play, though. Excuse me.
Yes, the flag in the end zone. To watch Eric Dickerson, the option, the great vision to bounce anywhere where there's an opening. That time he just bounced outside for the TD.
After the touchdown, there'll be an unsportsmanlike 5-yard penalty on the kickoff against Los Angeles.
So it is a touchdown. Eric Dickerson just bouncing off people, just like flies on an elephant. He just straight-armed a couple of the Bengals and took it into the end zone.
There was Lewis Breeden over there, who he just bullet his way. We've used that word a couple of times, but that's exactly what they've been doing so far this afternoon. Mike Lansford in to attempt the extra point. Nolan Cromwell to hold. And it's good. So after a 6-yard run by Eric Dickerson and an extra point conversion, the Rams on top by 7.
And it was good blocking by the offensive line to cave down the defense. Watch David Hill right there, ties up his man. See, Dickerson breaks outside off the block, and then he just uses the straight arm. Get out of my way. Robert Jackson, I'm going in for the end zone, and he just launches himself. Touchdown.
And we got another look at the new rules, because we saw David Hill, the tight end, using his hands, pushing off at the line of scrimmage, which enabled him to get just a little bit better position on the linebacker, which got him out of the way so Dickerson could get into the end zone for a touchdown. 6 minutes and 53 seconds left to go in the first half. Mike Lansford all set to kick off for Los Angeles. Back deep for Cincinnati stand for Jennings and James Brooks. And the Rams lead it 7-0 on a 6-yard run by Eric Dickerson. Short kick by Lansford. This is James Brooks at the 14. And Brooks fumbles. Recovered by A.J. Jones. So once again, the special teams that Sam Weiss had been complaining about all year long failed him, and the Rams get excellent field position.
Poor field position he's been complaining about. He's put his veterans back on. He's got James Brooks back returning kickoff. Here, Brooks takes a hit. Right there, bingo. And he coughs up the ball, and it's recovered by the Rams. Turnovers, a problem. Cincinnati has 2 already. Anderson threw an interception. They're the fumble, and now the Rams in good field position.
A.J. Jam Jones from the University of Texas making the fumble recovery. First and 10 for Los Angeles at the Cincinnati 32-yard line. Eric Dickerson, the sole setback. Jeff Kemp at quarterback. Toss back to Dickerson. Good blocking up front. Tackle made by Rick Rosano as Dickerson just leans across the 30-yard line. Good blocks up front by Guman, Dennis Hara, and Russ Bollinger, who is still in there for the injured Kent Hill.
And Eric Dickerson, talking to him yesterday, said, yes, I would love to carry the ball 30, 35 times. But on the other side of the coin, he said, I don't want to be the whole offense. It's frustrating when you have a game like I had against Pittsburgh last week. They were everywhere with 8 and 9 men on the line of scrimmage.
Dickerson so far, 10 carries, 36 yards, and 1 touchdown. 2nd and 7 from the Bengal 29. George Palmer in motion. Play action pass. Here's the rush. Kemp scrambling. and forced out of bounds. So Jeff Kemp once again doing one of the things that he does best, that's scrambling, getting away from pressure before he was forced out of bounds by Robert Jackson.
And that's one of the things the Ram offense will evolve into should Jeff Kemp remain the quarterback. He has mobility. He's not very big, so what you try to do is you try to get him outside, let him scramble, let him find someone. That time, he faked Eric Dickerson. Dickerson was wide open in the middle of the field. Had Kemp been able to find him.
Jeff Kemp's a very confident young man, as we found out last night talking with him. Said he didn't get much sleep 2 nights ago. Wonder how he slept last night. 3rd and 7 from the Bengals 29. That's Farmer in motion again. And Kemp is back to pass. Intended for Mike Guman, incomplete. Mike Guman, the pass was intended for him that time, and he slipped in play because of the wetness on the AstroTurf here.
It's been a problem all afternoon. Guman goes down, drives the defender up. Defensive backs are playing way back there. He slips, can't get back up. Tough play for Kemp and Guman. But you see the defensive backs are playing really deep. Perhaps they're afraid of sliding around.
And maybe playing a little scared also. Mike Lansford in to attempt a 46-yard field goal. Nolan Cromwell will be holding. And it's off to the right. So a 46-yard field goal attempt by Mike Lansford had the distance, but it did not have the accuracy. It's off to the right, and the Bengals dodge the bullet in after James Brooks fumbles on a kickoff return. There are only 5 minutes and 42 seconds to go here in the first half. The Rams on top, and we'll be back. Coming up on CBS Sports today, the Green Bay Packers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And, John, we know that the Cowboys are really trying to get their act together behind quarterback Gary Hogenboom.
They definitely have. That's a high-powered offense. Hogenboom has already thrown for over 900 yards.
That's coming up later today. But we have an exciting game right now with Cincinnati trailing the Rams 7-0. 1st and 10 from their own 29-yard line. Kennebrew in motion. Handoff to Stanley Wilson. Stanley Wilson gets up across the 35-yard line. And the crowd here trying to get vocal behind their Bengals. Other scores this afternoon, it's Atlanta over Houston, 21-0 in the first 15 minutes. Detroit leading Minnesota 14-10 in the second quarter. No score, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Washington over New England, 10-0 in the second period. 2nd and 4. Anderson back to pass. Plenty of time. Gets away from Jack Youngblood. Pass intended for M.L. Harris, and Harris slips and falls, and it is incomplete.
And you can see the problem all of the players are having. The defense trying to catch Kenny Anderson. The receivers trying to catch and come back for the ball. It's that slippery turf.
And as you know, we both know from playing on adverse conditions like this, one of the things that you really have to do is run more flat-footed as opposed to up on your toes so you can maintain your balance. 3rd and 4 for the Bengals at their own 35-yard line. 3 wide receivers in for Cincinnati. Anderson's back to pass. Looked like it was intended for Collinsworth, and Chris Collinsworth wasn't even looking.
He wasn't looking. That's one of those patented Cincinnati pick plays. They do it all the time. It's a timing pattern. You see the receivers, the 3 of them out here. These 2 in front, Harris and the other receiver are going to pick. Collinsworth is going to come off over it, but Anderson got pressure and had to throw it sooner than he wanted to. Second punt, of course, Pat McInally having an incredible year, averaging close to 49 yards a kick.
Henry Ellard back to receive for Los Angeles at about his 20. High punt from McInally. Ellard at the 23. And Henry Ellard fights his way over the 30-yard line before he's tackled there is made by Brian Pillman. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Los Angeles Rams with Jeff Kemp filling in for the injured Vince Ferragamo, and they lead by 7. Appropriate that we have a little wave going on. That's the popular thing that's going on among fans around the country these days.
A wave and rain, I like it. I like it, Jim. interesting that these fans, it's a full house here just about, and they're backing up their Cincinnati Bengals, even though they're 0-3. They believe they can turn it around. Listen to them.
Right now, Cincinnati trails 7-0. First and 10 for Los Angeles at their own 33. Hand off to Dwayne Crutchfield. Dwayne Crutchfield. Tackled by the middle of the Bengal defensive line. Rick Rosano in on the tackle. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League, and it is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Bengals and the National Football League is prohibited. 2nd and 8 for Los Angeles from their 35. And off to Dickerson. Oh, my, he showed great explosion getting to the line of scrimmage then.
Oh, so did the offensive line show great explosion. He got some. And they're running at Rick Rosano. He's only 5'11", 225, number 51. And that's where they want to go, the right side, against those small linebackers from Cincinnati. And, of course, Dick, coming into this game, about the same pace as last year. But in the 4th and 5th games of the year, he had 192 yards. Take a look at it right here against the Jets. And then he had 199 yards the next week. So Dick needs a couple of big weeks to stay with that record-setting pace of last year.
And he has the ball again. Gets up to about the 49-yard line before he's tackled by Jimmy Turner. The Rams telling us yesterday and the day before that they are bound and determined to get physical with this Cincinnati team, that they know that they have to get back to the basics. And the basics for Los Angeles is this.
Vince Ferragamo along the sidelines, tough last week, broke a finger on his throwing hand. And talking to Vince, you sense, in one way, a sense of relief.
Barry Redden has checked into the backfield for Los Angeles, giving Eric Dickerson a breather. And the handoff to Redden. And Barry Redden, behind some fine blocking, picks up about 5 or 6 yards before he's tackled by Guy Frazier.
And getting back to Ferragamo for a minute, I mean, the man is feeling a whole bunch of feelings, but just talking to him yesterday at practice, you sense, well, some of the pressure was off, that maybe he could take a look at the game and the situation from another perspective. But on the other side of the coin, he's certainly unhappy to be watching this game and not participating. As you look at his 84 stats.
Dickerson has checked back into the backfield, replacing Barry Redden, along with Dwayne Crutchfield. 3rd and 1 for Los Angeles. Hand off to Crutchfield. He dives across the right side of his offensive line, picking up enough yardage for the first down. Lewis Breeden in on the tackle.
Good strategy that time. Everyone looking for Dickerson to the left side. Instead, they give it to Crutchfield at 6 feet, 245. He's the big load. He gets the first down. The Rams have the ball. They're driving with 2 minutes left.
With Brent and Irv, and a feature legends of the game. And he's one of the finest linebackers to ever play professional football, and a great man, Ray Nitschke of the Green Bay Packers.
Number 66 of the Green Bay Packer dynasty of the 60s.
1st and 10 for Los Angeles. At the Bengal 43-yard line. The Rams lead 7-0. Henry Ellard in motion. And Kemp is back to pass. Throwing deep. Knocked down there by Jimmy Turner. So Jimmy Turner, the second-year man from UCLA, comes over and makes a fine defensive play as Kemp was trying to go deep, looking for the home run ball.
Good play by Jimmy Turner, number 35. Take a look at it right here. You don't see the man in the picture here. That's Ellard. Then Turner, good ball reaction, almost pulls it in. Had Kemp been able to throw it over the top a little more, he might have gotten Ellard out there for the touchdown. Good play by Turner.
Kemp 5 of 9 for 52 yards. 2nd and 10 for the Rams at the Cincinnati 43. Toss back to Dickerson. Good blocking up front. Eric Dickerson fighting his way down to about the 37-yard line before he's tackled by Rick Rosano and Guy Frazier. So Dickerson trying to get out of the slump that he was in last week. It really wasn't a slump. It was more the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. But he was determined. He knew that he had to come in here, and knowing that the Ram offensive philosophy this week was going to be to run.
I mean, he was talking about only gaining 49 yards and 23 carries last week. He said, one of the most frustrating days of my life.
3rd and 3 now for Los Angeles. And Kemp is back to pass. Across the middle to David Hill. David Hill tackled there by 5 Bengals, led by Rick Rosano.
You know, people ask the question about this Cincinnati Bengals defense. They were number 1 in the NFL last year. Why are the problems happening this year? Well, you and I both know it's chemistry on defense, Jim. They have 3 or 4 new players. LeClaire is gone. Riley's gone. Of course, their fine, strong safety, Bobby Kemp, is hurt. So the Bengals are having their problems. They're losing 7-0 here with 1:07 left.
Behind Jeff Kemp, the Rams are driving. This drive started at the Ram 33-yard line. It's 1st and 10 now at the Bengals 27-yard line. And it is starting to rain a little bit harder here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Eric Dickerson, the sole back for Los Angeles. And Kemp is back to pass. Into and out of the hands of Mike Guman. Jimmy Turner on the coverage there.
I don't understand why Jimmy Turner's so deep on a player like Mike Guman. Guman does not have great speed. That was a simple out pattern. He was wide open. Could have been caught. John Robinson doesn't like it. Neither did Kemp. But you saw Kemp trying to be the leader that a quarterback has to be. He's clapping to pick up his team.
2nd and 10 from the 27. And it is raining even harder now. Kemp back to pass again. Good protection. Down the middle intended for Guman. Incomplete. Jimmy Turner again on the coverage.
That time they tried to bring Guman inside. They ran him outside last time. They thought Turner might be thinking the same thing. This time he runs a post. Turner had good position.
And it appears one of the things that the Rams are doing is trying to go to a variety of receivers, trying to confuse the Bengals on defense. And, you know, talk about the Bengals on defense. Ross Browner was telling us yesterday that teams these days are preparing more for their defense because of the reputation that they had last year.
They were number 1 in the NFL last year, as I mentioned.
3rd and 10 for Los Angeles at the Bengals 27. Kemp back to pass once again. Intended for Dickerson. Reggie Williams in on the coverage, and Eric is complaining. I think he's trying to complain of pass interference, but the ball was into and out of his arms, incomplete.
It was very close. Number 57, Reggie Williams, the outside linebacker, trying to cover number 29, Eric Dickerson, that great speed out of the backfield. Kemp looked all the way. Reggie does not see the ball, but at the last minute, he got there too soon. It should have been pass interference. He had his hand on Dickerson before the ball got there. Never saw the ball.
That's what Eric was complaining about, as the ball hit him right in his chest.
Rightfully so, Jim.
44-yard field goal attempt by Mike Lansford. You remember a little while ago he had the distance, but it wasn't accurate. He missed from 46. This time from 44. Roland Cromwell holding. This time it's off to the left. Mike Lansford has missed 2 field goals. Off to the right from 46, off to the left from 44. And once again, Cincinnati dodges the bullet.
John Robinson is disgusted. He could have used those 2 field goals. Lansford, before last week in Pittsburgh, was 4 for 4. He missed one last week. He's missed a couple today. So they're having problems with their kicking game.
Not making any excuses for Lansford, but, you know, sometimes you have to wonder. He's a barefoot kicker on AstroTurf with all this rain coming down. You wonder if the rain had anything to do with the accuracy instead of the distance. 44 seconds left to go in the first half. We'll be back in just a moment. A very disappointing first half for Sam Weiss and his Cincinnati Bengals, especially for Kenny Anderson. He's only 4 of 8 for 17 yards and 1 interception. The Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 27-yard line. Anderson on the draw play. This is Charles Alexander.
Jim, I will be shocked to see the Cincinnati Bengals go into their shell and come up with a defeatist offense. This is a man who's been around 14 years, has been in a time situation 100, 150 times, and I'm surprised they don't go for it.
But you have to remember, he's not calling the plays. The plays are coming from the sideline. So it's not so much to blame Anderson as if you want to put it any place, it has to come from the sidelines. And they're going to let the clock run out.
Can you believe this? When they went for it early, remember it was 4th and short, they got it, they tried again, they didn't get it. Sam Weiss showed a lot of courage. Here he says, let's go in 7-0 and regroup. I'm surprised.
And they had 3 timeouts left.
Oh.
So with the boos, that is the end of the first half. I'm Jim Hill along with John Dockery. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Los Angeles Rams lead the Cincinnati Bengals 7-0. Jim Breach is all set to kick off for Cincinnati. Back to receive deep, Barry Redden, number 30, for the Los Angeles Rams. He is the deep man. It had been raining all day long here in Cincinnati, and as we begin the second half, the rain has stopped. Split kick. Dwayne Crutchfield about the 22-yard line. Crutchfield fumbles the ball. However, the Rams maintain possession as Norwood Van comes over and makes the fumble recovery, and that's where the Rams will take over 1st and 10.
Once again, poor field position, bad special teams play. As you look at halftime stats, yards passing. When was the last time Kenny Anderson only had 17 yards and a half passing? Incredible. Turnovers a problem for Cincinnati. The interception, the fumble. Time of possession fairly close.
But for a young, steady Jeff Kemp, a pretty good first half of play for him.
Not bad at all. 6 of 13 for 62 yards.
And Kemp back to pass on 1st and 10. And he's finally run out of bounds about the 41-yard line by Ross Browner.
Presence of mind. How cool, how casual, pointing downfield, telling his receivers to move, even with pressure all over him right there.
You know, that's one of the things that some of the Ram offensive linemen were telling me, that Kemp has not played that much. This is his first start ever. But the way he has progressed over the 4 years that he's been with the Rams, he's always there for practice, one of the first ones out. He's always one of the last ones in. And you gain a great deal of respect from your teammates when you do stuff like that. 2nd and 10 from the Ram 41-yard line. Hand off to Dickerson. Eric Dickerson getting up to about the 44-yard line before he's tackled by Rick Rosano. Now we have a little scuffle on the field. Dennis Hara. And the Rams openly admit that they want to be angry. They want to get physical with this Cincinnati ball club. They are angry at themselves, and they were saying yesterday, we want to take out our frustrations on the Bengals.
Both teams really realize how critical this game is. Look, you're 0-3 if you're Cincinnati. You have Pittsburgh next week. You need a victory to shut up the Boo Birds. Rams 1-2 have to prove they can win with adversity. Their quarterback's hurt. They have a young quarterback in there, Jeff Kemp.
And in the same division as San Francisco. 3rd and 7 from the 44. Kemp back to pass. Complete again to David Hill. Hill picks up enough yardage for the first down to about the Bengal 44-yard line. Tackle there made by Jimmy Turner.
Safe, high percentage pass, doesn't require a brilliant arm, doesn't take that much time. David Hill over the middle. Look at Eric Dickerson staying into block. He checks and then goes out. Hill makes the reception. 5 receptions for 58 yards already for David Hill.
That's his best afternoon of the young season so far.
By far.
David Hill, 9-year veteran, was traded from the Detroit Lions.
Claim to fame, he's the brother of Jim Hill.
Thank you very much. Jump back to pass again. Intended for Eller, and it is complete. Coverage there by Lewis Breeden.
Nice timing pass to Eller. Breeden covering short, Jimmy Turner covering deep. Watch the nice throw on the line, gets it there for Eller. He keeps his feet in bounds. Here, take a look. 22-yard completion. Puts it where you have to put it, between the short man and the deep man over Breeden. Nice presence of mind by Eller to get both feet down in bounds.
You know, you really have to be so impressed with young Jeff Kemp, because he has remained, as you said, calm.
In a very pressure-filled situation.
1st and 10 for the Rams at the Bengal 22-yard line. Dickerson in the backfield. He gets the handoff. He fumbles the ball. Recovered by Rick Lozano, but there is a flag on the play. Eric Dickerson, coming to his left, fumbles the ball. Rick Rosano of the Bengals makes the recovery, but there is a flag on the play. It's against Los Angeles for holding.
Offense, number 44. Holding. Refused. First down.
Mike Guman was holding. Watch Eric Dickerson as you look at it from the ground level. Takes the handoff from Kemp. Struggling for the extra yards. Carrying the ball. See him struggling right here. The ball popped out from behind number 79, Ross Browner. The man that knocks it out, recovered by Cincinnati. It's Rick Rosano, number 51.
So for a change, the Bengals come up with a big play. That's one of the things that Eddie Edwards was telling us yesterday. He says, we have not come up with any big plays, any turnovers for our offense. They just did. And now the Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 19. It has stopped raining here in Cincinnati. The sun is starting to come through just a little bit, and you just have to believe that Kenny Anderson is bound to start throwing a lot pretty soon. Hand off to Alexander. Charles Alexander going up the middle of his offensive line. Carl Eckern in on the tackle.
Charles Alexander, the reliable man in his 6th year out of LSU, number 2 draft choice back in '79. Started since he arrived here, as you take a look at his career average. He has 23 yards so far. Bengals moving the ball on the ground better than through the air. Surprise.
2nd and 4 from the 25. Hand off to Stanley Wilson. Stanley Wilson picks his way into the Rams secondary. Finally tackled by Vince Newsom and Nolan Cromwell.
And you can bet if the Bengals get something going on the ground, that's going to set up their passing game in Kenny Anderson.
You just have to believe. You just have to really know that Anderson's going to put it up in the air and start to throw quite a bit, even though they told us yesterday that one of the things that they really want to do is to run more today.
When you have an offensive line, as you look at him leaving the field, Stanley Wilson replaced by Brooks, and you have an offensive line that is 6'5", and averages 281 pounds across the front, you should be able to run the ball and move people off the line of scrimmage.
Well, that's what the Bengals are trying to do. It's 1st and 10 from their own 34. Toss back to Brooks. Good defense by Gary Green.
You have to laugh at seeing Gary Green because he's one of those cornerbacks that will support the run. There are guys, how about the Raider cornerbacks, Hayes and Haynes, they're paid to cover receivers. They forget about the run. Gary Green said, when I told Lester that, he laughed. You support the run. Here, Gary Green, boy, he comes up in a hurry. Good play right there by number 58, also Mel Owens, to fight off the block of Alexander. Green comes up and makes the tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
Gary Green, who already has an interception this afternoon, comes up with a fine play. 2nd and 14. Anderson is back to pass. Complete to Isaac Curtis. Isaac Curtis, the 12-year veteran, is tackled by Jim Collins, number 50.
Isaac Curtis has been used very sparingly by the Bengals. He's only had 2 catches for 25 yards coming in. And talking to him yesterday, he said, yeah, I'm a decoy mostly now. It's more Collinsworth. It's more M.L. Harris. It's other people. As you look at those career stats, impressive. Over 17 yards average per catch, 53 touchdowns.
I mean, he used to strike fear into the defensive secondary. 3rd and 7 from the Bengal 37-yard line. The Rams have 5 defensive backs here. Flag on the play. It looked like one of the Bengal offensive linemen from tackle to tackle moved before the snap of the ball.
Offense, number 74. False start.
Brian Blados. First penalty against the Bengals this afternoon. So as we mentioned, it has stopped raining. The sun has come out. And the Rams lead Cincinnati 7-0. 3rd and 12 from the Cincinnati 32. Anderson goes back to pass. Dumps it off to Charles Alexander. Alexander finally brought down by Mel Owens.
Alexander did everything he could do. George Andrews, number 52, bounced off Alexander. Almost got the first down, but comes up a little bit short.
And that means Pat McAnally will come in to punt for Cincinnati. McAnally, who is one of the fine punters in the National Football League. 45-yard average on 2 punts this afternoon. Henry Ellard back deep for Los Angeles. 23-yard fake punt to Stanford Jennings.
Pat McAnally, take a look at Stanford Jennings. He's in the middle of the screen there, sneaking through the line. He is the man that Sam Weiss called the reliable rookie. Here he pulls it in, the rookie from Furman, and takes it upfield for a big first down on a trick play by the Cincinnati Bengals.
1st and 10 from the Ram 15. Handoff to Stanley Wilson. Wilson drilled to the ground by Carl Eckert and Vince Newsom. That's one thing that the Bengals really need. The crowd had been sitting here. They've been somewhat dead for the last half hour, 45 minutes. All of a sudden, great play by the special teams. Wakes up the Bengals, wakes up the crowd. Now they have the momentum behind them.
And the sun is shining right now on the Cincinnati Bengals. It's no longer raining. They're downing, but they've had problems scoring, as we said before, from in close.
Henderson handing off again to Larry Kinnebrew. You know, if you're Sam Weiss, you're standing on the sidelines right now. You're probably just crossing your fingers and doing everything you can, crossing your legs, saying, come on, guys, let's get it in there, because this has really been our jinx all year long.
And history would say that you're going to have a problem. Last week against the Jets, 6 times inside the 3-yard line, they couldn't score. Earlier, 4th and 2 from the goal line. What happens? Anderson's dragged down on a sack, unable to score. Here they're measuring for the first down, and they got it.
So it will be 1st and 5 for the Bengals at the Ram 5-yard line after a successful fake punt. And John Robinson knows that Lady Luck has bound to smile on the Bengals sooner or later. He just hopes that it isn't right now, and the Bengals hope that it is. Kinnebrew in motion. Hand off to Stanley Wilson. Jack Youngblood and Jim Collins in on the tackle for Los Angeles.
And you get the feeling that Kenny Anderson would like to have Pete Johnson, all 295 pounds of him, back here in Cincinnati at this moment. Close in, that's what you need, the big back. Kinnebrew is a big back. He's 6'1", about 245, but not quite the power of a Pete Johnson.
This is also an area where Anderson can be most effective when he starts to run out or roll out one way or the other, making him doubly dangerous.
That's what he tried to do before. It didn't work.
But he hands off to Kinnebrew, touchdown. Larry Kinnebrew going in for the score. Good blocking up front by his offensive line, and like we said, when the sun came out, you just got the feeling that maybe Lady Luck was going to finally smile on the Bengals as they get in for the score. Jim Breach in to attempt the extra point conversion. And it is good. Good blocking by the Cincinnati Bengal offensive line, which allowed Kinnebrew to get in for the score.
Dave Remington, number 52, watch him there working on Greg Meisner, leading the way. And he'd say Vince Newsom can't stop the big horse. Larry Kinnebrew takes it in. We have a tie ball game.
And new life, and you can just really feel it now. I mean, sometimes it only takes one play in order to really ignite a team and ignite a crowd. And when you're in a slump like the Bengals, that one play can come from anywhere. This particular time it came from the special teams unit. They come back behind a touchdown run by Larry Kinnebrew. The score is all tied at 7-7. The concentrated look of Jim Breach. All set to kick off for Cincinnati. Barry Redden, the deep man for Los Angeles. There's a wobbly kick that goes out of bounds. A flag will be thrown, a 5-yard penalty, and Breach will have to kick over.
If I were Sam Weiss, I might have to look for a new special team situation, even though they did come with that fake punt, McAnally to Jennings, to set up the scoring drive. You see it there, 10 plays, 81 yards. Took a little over 5.5 minutes. Kinnebrew took it in, and we have a tie ball game. But problems of field position. They got bad field position on the last kick. It was a squibber. Now he kicks it out of bounds, so they move back 5 more yards. So you have to figure the Rams will once again have good field position. That's been killing the Bengals all season long. And you look at the Bengals, Jim, they lost to Denver 20-17. They lost to Kansas City 27-22. To the Jets, beat them badly last week, but all of those games have been close. They could easily be 2-1, but they're not. They're 0-3, and in kind of a desperate situation to win here today.
Right now we have a tie game, and Breach kicks it over. This time a nice high kick. Redden at the 5-yard line. And Barry Redden rambles his way up to the 35-yard line before he's tackled by Brian Pillman. Some scores around the National Football League halftime. San Francisco over Philadelphia 14-6. It is the Jets leading Buffalo 21-10 at halftime. St. Louis trailing New Orleans 13-7 at halftime. And Atlanta over Houston 21-10 after 3 quarters. Minnesota over Detroit 16-14 after 30 minutes.
The Rams do not like to see San Francisco 49ers beating Philadelphia Eagles.
The Rams really have to be concerned about beating Cincinnati today. The score is tied. Jeff Kemp at quarterback for Los Angeles, and Kemp is back to pass. Trying to set up the screen. Bouncing around out of the hands of Eric Dickerson, and we have another fight going on the field. Jimmy Turner, number 35, the second-year man from UCLA, getting involved in that one. Russ Bollinger down there involved in it. Dennis Hara also down there involved in it. I think the Rams really got a little excited and maybe a little upset at the fact that maybe some of the Bengals were trying to take advantage and abuse Eric Dickerson.
Not only that, number 58, Guy Frazier, was actually holding Eric Dickerson on that screen. Dickerson couldn't get loose. Kemp had trouble getting him the ball.
No flags were thrown. It goes as an incomplete pass. 2nd and 10 for Los Angeles at their 36-yard line. 6 minutes and 54 seconds left to go in the 3rd period. Jeff Kemp at quarterback. It's back to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson gets across the 40-yard line up to about the 42-yard line. Tackle made by Reggie Williams. You know, Eric Dickerson, as we watch him right now, the latter part of the first quarter up until this point, he has really started to turn on the afterburners. You know, early in the ball game, sure, he had on the shoes that he changed to change the shoes, but now he is really firing out, and you can see the offensive line of the Rams really starting to fire out too.
They feel like they're part of Eric Dickerson's success. They like that feeling.
Dickerson, 16 rushes, 68 yards, and 1 score. Toss back to Dickerson again. With the crowd howling defense, defense, the Bengals hold. Robert Jackson in on the tackle, stopping Eric Dickerson. It will be 4th and 2 now from the Ram 44-yard line. John Misko back to kick for Los Angeles. Mike Martin back to receive for Cincinnati. Misko gets off a short but high punt. Martin calls for and makes the fair catch at about the 17-yard line. So that's where the Bengals will take over, 1st and 10, but there is a flag on the play. There's a flag on the play back up about the 45-yard line. The preliminary call looks to be against Los Angeles.
Illegally down on the punt, refused, 1st down.
Number 90, Ed Brady. That's who the penalty was called against. So the Bengals will have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 17-yard line. 6:02 left in the 3rd period when we come back. Jim Hill, 6 minutes, 2 seconds left to go in the 3rd period. The Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 17-yard line. Score tied at 7. Hand off to Stanley Wilson. And Stanley Wilson is smothered by several Rams, led by number 71, Reggie Doss.
Kenny Anderson looking to the sidelines to get the play call. Interesting that he has the option to just about audible on every play, but they run an offense that's slightly different. He calls 2 plays in the huddle. They come up to the line of scrimmage. They see which play seems to make more sense, and then they run that particular play.
Anderson, the 14-year veteran. And he fumbles the ball. Fumble the ball from center, and George Andrews, number 52, apparently has the recovery. George Andrews, the 6-year man from Nebraska, comes up with another big play for the Ram defense. Meanwhile, another bad play, and misfortune strikes Cincinnati again.
Cincinnati, coming into this game, had fumbled the ball 7 times. They'd lost 5 of them. How can you get a consistent offense going when you're throwing interceptions? They've thrown 6 so far this year. They fumbled the ball and lost it 6, 7 times. As you would take another look at it right here, seemed like he had a little problem with the snap from center. Never had the ball. The Rams come up with it.
Now Jeff Kemp and the Rams have the ball 1st and 10 at the Cincinnati 16-yard line. Eric Dickerson in the backfield. And Dickerson gets the handoff. Spinning and twisting his way down to about the 10-yard line. Tackle there made by Rick Rosano. So the Rams surely want to take advantage of this opportunity.
There's the problem. Cincinnati 3 turnovers. The Rams only 1.
And that's the one thing that has kept Sam Weiss up late at night. Now John Robinson does not want the same thing to happen to his ball club that happened to the Bengals early in the ball game and have a chance to score enough. 2nd and 5 from the 11. Hand off to Dickerson. He is really amazing. It looked like it was stopped up there at the line of scrimmage, and somehow he got into the secondary, picked up a couple of yards before he was tackled by Rosano and Robert Jackson.
You know, people talk about his speed and his size, but the one thing the Bengals were most concerned with, and they talked about most, Glenn Cameron, number 50, was telling us that Dickerson is so strong, and that's what he worries about most. You can hit him, he'll bounce off like he did then, and still get some more yards and possibly even break the long one. 78 yards. 19 carries and 1 touchdown. He told me that during the offseason he went to a weight program so he could get stronger up top, so he could try and run over people if he had to. Dwayne Crutchfield in the backfield with Dickerson now. Crutchfield in motion, the toss back to Dickerson. And he fumbles. Jimmy Turner. So the thing that we talked about that John Robinson was probably concerned about really happened to him. Jimmy Turner comes up with a fumble recovery, saving the Bengals once again. Inept, problem-plagued offenses. Here Dickerson takes the ball around the right end. He's getting some good blocking from Crutchfield. He just tossed up the ball. Nobody hit him. He just dropped the ball, much like Anderson did only plays before when the Rams got it back. So they trade fumbles. The score is tied. We'll be back to Riverfront Stadium in a moment.
Coming up next, the Green Bay Packers against the Dallas Cowboys. The Packers trying to get their offense going behind Lynn Dickey. Of course, Gary Hogaboom for the Cowboys. Meanwhile here, Kenny Anderson trying to get the Bengals back going. Play action pass from his end zone. Complete to Stafford Jennings. Jack Youngblood in on the tackle for Los Angeles.
That's a veteran quarterback gambling from his own end zone. He wanted to go downtown to Chris Collinsworth, but instead he gets pressure. He sees he's covered. What does he do? He drops it off under pressure. See him hit there by number 58, Mel Owens, and then a good run by Stafford Jennings, the rookie from Furman.
So the Bengals pick up a 1st down. Hand off to Stanley Wilson. Wilson hit on the top of the shoulders there by Reggie Doss.
Engulfed by Reggie Doss.
Whew. Tell you what, that Reggie Doss is really something.
6'4", 265 pounds.
Plays all over the field, an extremely dedicated football player. And determined, as he says, he wants to be one of the best. Well, that play was certainly one of the best this afternoon for the Rams defensively. And it'll be 2nd and 10 from the Bengals 16-yard line. Kenny Anderson in at quarterback. Now the Bengals have a receiver in the backfield, and M.L. Harris. Plenty of time dumping it off to Alexander. Jim Collins comes up to make the tackle. Kind of interesting there, John. We saw M.L. Harris, the tight end, line up in the backfield next to Alexander. He just kind of drifted on out into the secondary. If you have that play where he just drifts out, then you know they have some other kind of play in their offensive arsenal where he really goes deep and they're going to try and pull the defense.
Well, I think they will. And Anderson, remember, told us yesterday that he would continue playing as long as he could do two things: have some fun and play up to his own expectations. Today, he's certainly not having much fun and not having a good day.
3rd and 7 from the 20. And Anderson is back to pass again. Good protection. Intended for Chris Collinsworth, and there's a flag on the play. The preliminary call, holding against Cincinnati, and that's just about always the case whenever you find a flag that's being thrown in that area of the field.
Offense, holding. Number 77, refused, 4th down.
Mike Wilson, 7th-year man from Georgia. And you just saw the expression on Sam Weitz's face, as if to say, doggone it, it happened again. Holding, and then we missed a pass that we should have completed.
And one or two things. He talked about that. A lot of our team is playing well. 10 guys doing their job, one guy breaking down, and that's been causing the problem.
Pat McInally in to punt for Cincinnati. Henry Elliott back to receive for Los Angeles about his own 34-yard line. Elliott at the 32. Good punt return by Henry Elliott, keeping his balance, finally being brought down by John Simmons. So the Rams will take over. 1st and 10 from their own 48-yard line with a score tied at 7. 2 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. A 10-round heavyweight bout between Jerry Cooney and Phil Brown.
My question is, when I look at Jerry Cooney, the only fight he lost, of course, was to Holmes. Can he come back after a 2-year layoff? Sugar Ray Leonard tried it, couldn't do it. Phil Brown undefeated.
And a lot of people are wondering how tough Jerry Cooney really is. We got a report that he had a cut on his chin. They think that might even cause him to cancel this fight. Here's something else that next weekend on Sports Saturday, New York Triathlon and the Marlboro Cup. You know something about the triathlon, don't you?
Sure, all those Florida, all those California athletes like Scott Tinley, Marina Allen coming to New York. Check out the course.
Jerry Cooney will certainly be there. As the Rams and Bengals are here 1st and 10. The Ram 48-yard line. David Hill in motion. Play action pass. Good protection. Kemp's going deep. Ron Brown. Touchdown Los Angeles. The Olympic gold medal winner, Ron Brown. 52 yards for a score, and now Brown is down as just about the entire Ram team comes out to see what is wrong with him. There have been some people who wondered if Jeff Kemp could throw the ball long. John Robinson told us yesterday, sure, he can throw long. Don't believe all those rumors that you hear that Kemp cannot throw the ball long. 52 yards to Ron Brown.
What speed, Ron Brown, the Olympic gold medalist, as you mentioned, the rookie out of Arizona State. Little play action, fast, man-to-man coverage, almost impossible. Horton trying to cover Brown. But watch Brown, the adjustment, turning his head, going back over the outside shoulder, falling. One hand, a fantastic catch by Ron Brown. Whew, what a grab for a rookie. For anybody.
That's right, anybody. Mike Lansford in. And the extra point conversion is good. So behind a 52-yard touchdown pass from Jeff Kemp to Ron Brown. The Rams have taken the lead once again, leading 14-7, John.
The danger of covering a Ron Brown is if you let him get too close to you, and Cincinnati's in a man-to-man defense. Here Horton has him. Ron Brown breaks to the middle. Kemp lays it up. Not a great throw. Ron Brown has to make an adjustment. See him take his eye off the ball and then somehow get his concentration spinning around and pulling it in.
I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you something. I played for 8 years as a defensive back, and you've played for a long time as a defensive back. You will not see a finer catch by anyone at any time. That was one super individual effort.
And what a lift for the Rams as they take a 14-7 lead.
And just about every member of the Rams came off the bench when Brown got into the end zone. First of all, to congratulate him for the touchdown reception. Second of all, because they thought he was injured, but there he is on the sidelines, apparently healthy.
But when you're talking about finding someone to give a lift to the worst passing offense in the NFL, you look for a speedster, a big play man. That's Ron Brown. Remember last week when we were in Pittsburgh, they had trouble getting the ball to Brown because he would beat a defender, but the ball was thrown just a little bit short. I think what's happened is that Kemp has come out. He's proven that he can throw the ball long, making Brown run individual patterns, complete for the score. Mike Lansford kicking off for Los Angeles. Mike Martin. And Mike Martin gets up to about the 22-yard line. And tempers are still on edge between both clubs. Because as we mentioned earlier, this, and sometimes people may say, oh, it's kind of silly for you to say this, but what an important ball game this is for both clubs, because the Rams need a win in order to try and keep up with San Francisco, and the Bengals need a win because they certainly don't want to fall behind 0-4 having to go against Pittsburgh next week. And would you believe coming into this game that Jeff Kemp would be outplaying Kenny Anderson? Anderson, 8 of 12, only 47 yards. Kemp in his first NFL start doing a work-for-life job. Here comes the reverse to Collinsworth. Good defense by Mel Owens. Even though Collinsworth picked up about 6 or 7 yards, Mel Owens and Gary Green were there to make the tackle. Vince Newsom also went on the tackle. Remember, they pulled a trick play before. They have all these things. This distracts the defense. All of these gimmick plays. Collinsworth comes around, takes the handoff right there. Anderson out in front. Not much of a block. I don't blame him. 2nd and 4 for the Bengals at their own 28-yard line. And Anderson is back to pass. Good protection. The ball is intercepted by Leroy Irvin. And the boos tell you the story. Leroy Irvin, who has already returned an interception for 81 yards for a touchdown this year against the Cleveland Browns, comes up with his interception this afternoon, the 2nd interception by the Rams, giving them the ball deep in Bengal territory, 1st and 10 at the Cincinnati 32-yard line. He forces this into Collinsworth, who is trying to drive Irvin outside. The ball is thrown outside. It should have been thrown inside. Irvin makes the interception, and the Rams get good field position. Kemp is back in striking distance again. And he's going for more. Complete to Mike Guman. Mike Guman there, tackled by Robert Jackson. Smart play by Kemp. You burn him long with Ron Brown. You come up short, throw to Mike Guman for a good gain. And the turnovers have been the story of this game. Rams with 2, Cincinnati with 4. And Kenny Anderson is just out of his rhythm. He's thrown 7 interceptions this year. He's only thrown 2 touchdown passes. Otis Grant and George Farmer check in at wide receivers for the Rams, with Dickerson in the backfield. Jeff Kemp, who so far has done a great job at quarterback. Tosses back to Dickerson. Good block from Dennis Harrop. Eric Dickerson down to about the 12, 13-yard line before he's tackled by Robert Jackson. That offensive line really starting to gain momentum now. They're starting to run and try and run over people. People talk about the Bengals, and sure, they have a fine offensive line, but so do the Los Angeles Rams. And with that first down effort by Eric Dickerson, that is the end of the 3rd period.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Pontiac, cars built with a feel for the road. Pontiac, we build excitement. Light beer from Miller, everything you always wanted in a beer and less. And by the over 1,300 Midas muffler and brake shops. As we start the 4th quarter,
at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. I'm Jim Hill with John Dockery. The Los Angeles Rams lead the Cincinnati Bengals 14-7. The Rams threatening for more. First and 10 at the Bengal 12-yard line. Dwayne Crutchfield and Eric Dickerson in the backfield for Los Angeles. Dickerson has already scored once this afternoon. And off to Dickerson. And he fumbles the ball. Tim Plumride, the fine nose tackle for the Bengals, has the ball now. And Dickerson is hurt. Eric Dickerson, about the 16-yard line, is down, and he's on his back right now. That's Tim Plumride running off the field with the ball after making a fumble recovery. But there's Dickerson. As the Rams are looking at his right hand, it looks like his right wrist. And it appears to be that he's in some pain right now. Looks like it's his wrist.
Let's take a look at it again and see if we can see what happened. Dickerson fumbles for the second time. Crutchfield has the lead block. He misses it. Cincinnati Bengals are all over Dickerson. He gets hit from the outside. He gets twisted around and knocked to the turf. Ball comes loose. Cincinnati recovers. They're taking Dickerson off the field. Rams lead 14-7. We'll be right back.
The concern is for Eric Dickerson. In the middle of your screen with the helmet facing you, you can barely see him. Remember last week, the Rams lost Vince Ferragamo with a hand injury. Eric Dickerson has just suffered another hand injury. As soon as we get a report on the extent of it, we'll bring it to you. First and 10 for the Bengals. Play action pass by Kenny Anderson. He slips but gets back up. Complete to Stanley Wilson. Carl Eckern in on the tackle for Los Angeles, along with Jim Collins and Reggie Doss. So Anderson now really going to work as we begin the fourth period.
Anderson has had a terrible game. He's now 9 of 14 for about 57 yards. No TDs, 2 interceptions, but I can see Ken Anderson not coming back. This is a high-powered offense, especially through the air. 59 yards.
First and 10 for the Bengals. Handoff up the middle to Larry Kennebrew. Larry Kennebrew, 6'1", 252 pounds. Mel Owens in on the tackle, and Carl Eckern for Los Angeles. In the third quarter, it's Atlanta over Houston 28-10. Minnesota leading Detroit 23-21 in the third period. Cleveland over Pittsburgh by 3 in the third quarter. Washington leading New England 20-7 in the third period. 2nd and 8 at the 36 for Cincinnati. Draw play, and Kennebrew is dropped for a loss. Reggie Doss, who has had an outstanding afternoon playing defense for the Rams, in on the tackle.
And you hear the booing from the crowd. I mean, they want to see Anderson do what he does best, and that's put the ball in the air. They're averaging over 300 yards a game in the air. They don't want to see him run.
3rd and 8 from the Bengal 36-yard line. Once again, Eric Dickerson suffering a hand injury. No report as of yet. Anderson is back to pass. Good protection. Going deep. Into and out of the hands of Steve Kreider. So once again, the Bengals are frustrated and come up short, and it'll be 4th down.
So close. Just overthrown. Kreider being covered right there by Leroy Irvin. Kreider not exactly a speedster, but he stretches out right there. He's 6'3", almost gets it, but no dice.
Leroy Irvin in on the coverage. Pat McInally, his 4th punt. He's averaging 46.3 per punt this afternoon. Wobbly punt. Henry Ellard at the 21. And Henry Ellard is brought down about the 26-yard line. Tackle there made by number 53, Leo Baker. So the Rams will take over. 1st and 3. 1st and 10, I should say, from their own 25-yard line. The score, 14-7 Los Angeles. Eric Dickerson's right wrist has been taped. The team physicians iced it down for a little while, and he put some tape on it. It's all wrapped up. He's put his helmet on. And knowing Eric Dickerson, he wants to get back in there.
Superman is not destructible. He's invincible. If he can hold the ball, I think he'll be back in. It's a sprained wrist.
But Barry Redden is in right now. And Kemp is back to pass. Setting up the screen. Into and out of the hands of Barry Redden. So Barry Redden, who came in to replace Dickerson, dropped the screen pass. Dickerson started in. Now he's going back out, talking to John Robinson. I think Eric wanted to come in a little bit sooner than John wanted him to.
John wants to take a look at his hand.
Shake it.
Ask him, shake it, and say, can you play? Can you hold the ball? Eric's saying, well, it's sore. I really don't know, but let's wait and see another play.
And you talk about devastating. That would be to Los Angeles if he can't come back. 2nd and 10 on the Rams' 25-yard line. Hand off to Barry Redden. Barry Redden gets up to about the 30-yard line. Tackle made by Tim Crumry, who has had an outstanding day for the Bengals playing at the nose tackle.
Every offensive team only has a few big play players, a few big stars who can put points on the board. Certainly Ferragamo was one of those for the Rams over the last couple of years, even though he struggled this year. And Dickerson is the heart and soul of the Ram offense. So if he's out there in trouble.
If there's one good thing about it, though, Barry Redden had an excellent preseason. As a matter of fact, he led the team in rushing. 3rd and 6 from the 30. And Kemp is back to pass. Intended for Mike Guman. Jimmy Turner, the nearest defender for the Bengals. So it will be 4th down, and the Rams come in to punt. Once again, Eric Dickerson suffering a hand injury. We don't know the extent of it. He had it taped. He tried to come back in. It looked like John Robinson said, no, you come back out. Let's wait a few minutes. John Misko in to punt for Los Angeles. His 4th punt, he's averaging 40 yards so far this afternoon. Mike Martin is back to receive for Cincinnati. Now Guman's calling audibles. It looks like the Bengals may have a punt rush on him. And here they come. But Misko gets it off. Martin, the 35-yard line fumbles, but it looks like Cincinnati gets back on it. And Mike Martin, the man who fumbled the punt, does indeed recover his own fumble. So that's where the Bengals will take over. 1st and 10 at their own 36-yard line. 11 minutes and 50 seconds left to go in this ball game. Don't you go away. The Rams only have a 7-point lead. Forrest Gregg played for the Packers, coaching the Packers, played for the Dallas Cowboys, trying to get that tradition going once again in Green Bay that he helped establish.
And boy, they have that high-powered offense. Lofton, Jefferson, Kaufman. Speaking of high-powered offenses, there is the Ram offense. He's still on the sideline, Eric Dickerson.
It's Gary Jeter, the injured defensive lineman, standing next to him. Dickerson has not come back since injuring his hand. 1st and 10 for the Rams at their 15. Jeff Kemp handing off to Barry Redden. Barry Redden breaks up to about the 23-yard line before he's tackled there by Glenn Cameron.
And Barry Redden, has played in the shadow of Eric Dickerson. Of course, he was a #1 draft choice back in 1982. He was the 3rd rusher taken in the nation. I mean, Marcus Allen was #1, then Herschel Walker, and then Redden. So you know Redden has great potential as a running back. Just playing in the shadow of Dickerson, he hasn't gotten much opportunity.
And one of the things which has really caused Redden to blossom this year has been the confidence given to him by John Robinson. Redden again. About the 26-yard line before he's tackled by Tim Crumry.
And they need Redden to pick up the slack with Eric Dickerson on the sideline. Tough decision for John Robinson. The injury, from what we can gather, is a sprained wrist. They didn't take him in for x-rays, so the question becomes, do you put your star back in and risk the season, even though you're desperate for a win here, or do you hold him out and hope that other people can pick up the slack?
I would think right now the Rams are going to wait and see what Redden has to do. And that's what's on the mind of Sam Weiss right now. 9 minutes to go in the ball game. Jeff Kemp at quarterback. And he's back to pass. Complete to Mike Guman. And Mike Guman is tackled there by Robert Jackson and Jimmy Turner, number 35. And Jimmy Turner may have had a chance at an interception there, but he slipped coming out of his back pedal, and that's what enables Guman to make the completion.
Exactly. The slip on the turf, it's still damp even though it stopped raining. Here, Kemp, again, they don't respect Guman that much, so they don't cover him very tightly. It's an easy pass for Kemp. Close to the first down.
2nd and 3, as a matter of fact, from the Ram 34-yard line. Dwayne Crutchfield replaces Barry Redden now. And the handoff to Crutchfield. First contact made by Rick Rosano. And that is good enough for the first down for Los Angeles.
Dwayne Crutchfield's an interesting story. John Robinson, of course, got him from the Jets, with a trade with Houston in '84. Before that, he was with the Jets, and the story in New York, Jim, was he was actually leading the Jets in rushing. Freeman McNeil was out, but they really didn't like his attitude. Right here for the Rams, he's playing well. They need that kind of a balance with Dickerson and the big back Crutchfield, especially on a wet field.
That was the 16th first down of the afternoon for Los Angeles, only 13 for Cincinnati. Play action pass. Kemp completes the pass to Crutchfield. And Crutchfield gets up to about the 45-yard line before he's tackled again by Rick Rosano and Reggie Williams. And these are the kinds of things when you're on defense, especially Sam Weiss and the Cincinnati Bengals, you're just saying, hopefully something will happen, because you know that the clock in the next couple of minutes is really going to start to work against you, particularly when the Rams are starting to methodically work their way down the field with the ball.
That's why I would expect the defense of Cincinnati to do something. Come with the blitz. Put a little pressure on Kemp. Plug those holes so they can't run the ball. We have nothing to lose.
2nd and 4 for the Rams at their 44. Hand off to Crutchfield again. Reggie Williams in on the tackle as Crutchfield barely gets up to about the line of scrimmage. Now, if you're Sam White right now, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, when am I ever going to get my first win in the NFL? When am I going to shut people up so I don't have to answer that question anymore? I thought I could get it today. I was confident coming into this game.
As a matter of fact, he told us he was confident about all their games so far this year.
It's amazing. He felt he was going to beat Denver by at least a touchdown. Same thing with Kansas City. He thought the Jet game would be a toss-up and won late. Here he felt he had a great shot to beat the Rams.
But the one thing he can't do is afford to get down, because he knows that the Bengal unit is looking at him all the way. Now, the Rams have called the timeout on the field. And Sam Weiss, being the youthful coach that he is really trying to get his group together. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, Jeff Kemp is conferring with John Robinson of the Rams. Here's some scores in the 4th period. It's the Jets leading Buffalo 21-19. Atlanta over Houston in big, 35-10 in the 4th period. Minnesota over Detroit, 26-21, also the 4th quarter. Pittsburgh and Cleveland tied at 10. That's kind of strange, because the Cleveland Browns supposedly are not a very good ball club.
They've been having their problems. I mean, they're 0-3. They're looking for their first win against Pittsburgh. Washington coming back. You know, people were counting them out early, but look at this. 23-10 over New England in the 4th quarter. New England, a good football team.
But here, it's the Rams leading the Bengals 14-7. Next Sunday, NFL doubleheader. A feature on Mike Ditka, the fine head coach of the Chicago Bears. Fire and ice. First game, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Chicago Bears. And once again, Mike Ditka has some roots in both places there. He played for the Cowboys, he played for the Bears, and now he's coaching for them.
And it's interesting, he's also being mic'd along the sidelines for next week's feature. And you know how volatile he can be.
Bleep, 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 yes. 3rd and 3 for Los Angeles. Jeff Kemp is back to pass. Completed to Ron Brown, and you better look out. Ron Brown will score. But the officials rule that he stepped out of bounds at about the 20-yard line.
Ray Horton must be having nightmares. Number 20, he slips in his coverage of Ron Brown, tries to get up and catch him, and apparently he did step out of bounds. But take a look at here in the isolation. That's Horton trying to cover a world-class, right there, a world-class sprinter. He slips, and then he tries to recover. Let's see if we can pick up where Ron Brown steps out of bounds. Right there. So it's not a touchdown.
You know what else Ray Horton is doing right now? He's saying,
my God.
Yeah.
Take a look at it again. He's just stepped out of bounds. Right there.
1st and 10 for the Rams. The handoff to Barry Redden. And Barry Redden gets down to about the 16-yard line. Tackle there made by Jeff Shue.
It's a balanced attack, something that they had looked for before this week. John Robinson said this week, we want to simplify our attack for our young quarterback, Jeff Kemp, in his 4th year out of Dartmouth. We'd really like to run the ball with Dickerson. Dickerson's hurt. You see him to the left of your screen there, number 29, standing along the sidelines. But what I'm impressed with Jeff Kemp, he has a balanced attack. He's throwing the ball well to Ron Brown, and they're running the ball well.
Kemp, 13 of 23 for 240 yards and 1 touchdown. And has been very calm under pressure. Handoff to Barry Redden again. Barry Redden tackled by Ross Browner. It is starting to get overcast again. 5 minutes and 39 seconds left to go in the ball game. And the Rams offensive line really starting to take control, taking charge here. Jeff Kemp, who came in under adverse conditions last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers after Vince Veracamo suffered a broken bone in his passing hand, got his first start ever in the National Football League. And up until this point, it has been a successful one. Hand off to Barry Redden. Barry Redden. Bruising tackle by Robert Jackson. Robert Jackson coming up from the secondary, putting his helmet right on the chest of Barry Redden and pushing him backwards.
Number 37 looked like he was shot out of a cannon. Take a look at this. Number 37, Robert Jackson. Big battle on the line. Right there. Bingo. Ooh, what a hit on Redden by Jackson. That's serious tackling from the secondary. That's the kind of spirit that they need. They haven't been making the big plays. They need one right now to keep the Rams off the board as we look at a field goal attempt.
You're looking at the bare foot of Mike Lansford, getting ready to attempt a 29-yard field goal. He's missed once this afternoon from 44 and once from 46 yards. This one from 29. Hits the upright and goes through. Mike Lansford, Lady Luck has finally smiled upon him. A 29-yard field goal hitting the left upright and bouncing through. And the Rams lead 17-7 now.
Well, Lansford's missed two. As you said, he missed one last week here. It hits the upright. Takes a Ram bounce through. They get the 3 points. And now Cincinnati has to score twice to beat him. That's really an important score.
That's right.
Obviously. And with only 4 minutes and 15 seconds left, Kenny Anderson's have to get his team moving.
And those are the kinds of bounces that have gone against the Bengals all year long.
But, you know, a team makes their own bounces. The Bengals have not been taking advantage. They haven't been able to score early. They were stopped on 4th and goal early when Anderson was sacked. They're not taking advantage of their opportunities.
They've had fumbles at critical times, interceptions when they were trying to make a drive.
Look at today, Jim. 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. Tough to win when you're having 4 turnovers.
Mike Lansford all set to kick off for Los Angeles. Stanford Jennings and Mike Martin back to receive for the Bengals. Once again, Eric Dickerson has left the ball game with an apparent sprained wrist. He has not returned. He tried, but John Robinson pulled him back out of it. 4:15 left to go in the ball game. Mike Martin at the 1. Mike Martin is tackled by Vince Newsom. And you hear the boos.
And the Cincinnati defense will hold Eric Dickerson from the way it looks under 100 yards. Only one back has gained over 100 yards in the last 22 games, and that was Freeman McNeil last week, 150 yards. That's a regular season. Remember in the playoffs a couple of years ago, McNeil had 202 yards.
So Eric Dickerson is on the sidelines. But the Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their 15, and Anderson's back to pass. Complete to Chris Collinsworth, knocked out of bounds by Nolan Cromwell. So the Bengals have got to go to work. And they have to go to work by doing more than what they have been so far this afternoon. They're going to have to get away from the little 8, 10-yard outs and turn-ins. They're going to have to try and push the ball upfield as far as they possibly can now.
But with David Verser hurt, one of their speedsters on the outside not playing, Isaac Curtis getting on in years, they have trouble getting deep. Collinsworth's the only one, and he's not a speedster.
2nd and 5. And Anderson's back to pass. Complete to Charles Alexander out of the backfield. Gary Green in on the tackle. 3 minutes, 51 seconds left. And the thing that does by them getting out of bounds, of course, it stops the clock and it saves them a timeout. Cincinnati has 3 timeouts left, and the Rams have 2.
And of course, they need 2 scores, trailing by 10 points.
So they must strike and strike fast and hope that their defense can come back out and hold. 3rd and 1 for the Bengals at their 25-yard line. Anderson again to pass. Almost intercepted by Jim Collins. Good defensive effort by Collins. The pass intended for M.L. Harris.
Anderson tried to force the ball into M.L. Harris. He was covered. Great reaction by Collins, number 50, to knock that ball. Almost intercepted. Take a look at it here. Tries to force it and see Collins on the move, reacting. Gets a hand out in front. Almost intercepted.
What the Rams are doing now is they know that the time is on their side. They're just sitting back in their zone defense. They're going to give up little by little. 4th and 1, and the Bengals are going for it. And Anderson calls timeout. And you know that's going to get some boos. Three minutes, 45 seconds left to go in the ball game. The Bengals call their first of 3 timeouts. Kenny Anderson, and they're going for it, came up to the line of scrimmage and called a timeout. Tonight on CBS, the all-new 60 Minutes, a season premiere of Aftermash and the 36th Annual Emmy Awards. Kenny Anderson, who, as we talked about earlier, said that he's been having more fun in the last couple of years, particularly this year under Sam Weiss. Can't be having too much fun this afternoon because things have just gone completely backwards for him.
And it's interesting, he said he thought he would be a better quarterback with a quarterback as a head coach, that he had to rely and bear down on every single play. But to this point, Anderson's been having a good season in the first 3 games himself, but the team has not been scoring in critical situations. This afternoon, it's not the Kenny Anderson we're used to seeing. Totally ineffective.
4th and 1 for the Bengals at their own 25-yard line. Stanley Wilson. And it looked like he didn't make it. But he did. Or if he did, he just made it by inches.
Oh, very close.
If he made it just by inches. The Bengals down there, hurry-up offense. 1st and 10. Anderson back to pass. Over the head of Larry Kennebrew.
And you sense when you look at Kenny Anderson that he's out of his rhythm. Yes, he is getting some pressure from the Ram defense. And yes, the Ram defense is playing well. But Kenny Anderson, only 12 completions for 76 yards, 2 interceptions, has lost his rhythm. Seems to have lost some of his confidence as a quarterback. I'm really surprised that a 14-year veteran would have those kinds of problems.
It's been contributed to a couple of things, I think. Good defense at times on the part of the Rams, and also he's just overthrown a lot of his receivers. 2nd and 10 from the 26. 3 wide receivers in for Cincinnati, and Anderson's back trying again. Pass is thrown and complete to M.L. Harris. M.L. Harris gets up to about the 35-yard line, where he's tackled by Mel Owens. Anderson calling plays at the line of scrimmage. 3 minutes, 19 seconds to go. The Bengals trying to hurry up everything now. 3rd and inches. Anderson to M.L. Harris. Falls over the 40-yard line, which is good enough for the first down tackle there made by Carl Eckert.
Even that throw, low to M.L. Harris. Had it been higher, had Harris been able to catch it on balance, he would have gotten more yards.
Now referee Fred Silva calls a timeout on the field. And with this official timeout, what it's doing, it's helping Cincinnati right now because they don't have to use a timeout, and they can kind of gather themselves.
Not only that, they changed a couple of people in the backfield while the timeout was called by the officials.
That was Anderson's longest completion of the day. Only 12 yards right now. He's 14 of 24 for 92 yards and 2 interceptions.
For a man who's come into the game averaging over 300 yards in his first 3 games, this has to be a shocker. They were concerned about their running game. They're moving the chains along the sidelines to set up the first down play. Obviously, there was some confusion. John Robinson wants to get the clock moving, saying, come on, guys, let's go. But he's still smiling. The man is relaxed. He says, let's go. Get the clock rolling.
You see if you can read lips. Come on. Run the clock, baby.
Come on, we're winning. 17-7. There's only 2:58 left. Let's get the game going. Let's get a win.
That's what Robinson is saying.
Second down now, Jim.
The officials on the sideline had the chains confused. Now Anderson goes back to pass. Throws to Isaac Curtis, and it is high, almost intercepted by Gary Green. So you talk about rhythm, not having any rhythm. He is completely off. He's high, he's low, he's short. His longest pass completion has only been for 12 yards, and we talked about trying to get to Isaac Curtis, and we can't get it to him.
And this one's just thrown so high, it's almost intercepted. Look at that. Look at the athlete, Green. Who goes up, almost pulls it down with one hand. Totally a poorly thrown ball.
3rd and 4 for Cincinnati. At their 41-yard line, the Rams lead it 17-7. 2:49 left, and Anderson's going to try it again. Here comes the rush. Flag is down, dumps it off to Stanford Jennings. And Stanford Jennings is tackled by Carl Eckern and Reggie Doss, but there is a flag on the play. And I would assume holding, there it is, against the Bengals. Jack Youngblood and Charles Desjournay were really putting a lot of pressure on Anderson then, and that's what the call is going to be.
Offense, number 52. Illegal use of the hand. 3rd down.
Dave Remington, second-year man from Nebraska.
You have to wonder about a performance like this by Kenny Anderson when yesterday he told us at this point in his career he was totally relaxed. Early he felt the pressure to make it. In the middle of his career, all those commitments, all those financial problems. Now that he's totally comfortable, he said, I'm enjoying, I'm playing well, and I'm enjoying it. But today he's having a terrible day.
Couldn't be enjoying this. 3rd and 14 from the Bengal 31-yard line. 3 wide receivers in. Here goes Anderson. Dumps it off to M.L. Harris. M.L. stumbles, but gets away from a couple of tackles. And that's dangerous. M.L. Harris finally driven out of bounds by George Andrews. And that's one of the dangers of getting up into a crowd of people, because sometimes one defender will think that the other defender has made the tackle, and the result, the ball carrier gets away.
Exactly, but look at Anderson here. He's being dragged down by Doss, has the presence of mind to get the ball up. And then M.L. Harris, like Lazarus from the dead, looks like he's tackled there, but no. He pulls out of the crowd and picks up the first down for the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is not over. 2:26 left. They're down by 10.
At the 43-yard line. Here goes Anderson again. Complete. Charles Alexander coming out of the backfield, and now they rule it incomplete.
And you have to wonder about the play selection. I know it's a safe play to just throw to your back out of the backfield, hope he picks up some yards. But what about Collinsworth downfield? What about M.L. Harris, the tight end with good speed? What about James Brooks? Where is he? Get him out of the backfield. He's got the good speed. He can catch the ball.
Get James Brooks off the bench, because that's where he's been. 2nd and 10. Anderson's going to try it again. Here comes the blitz. Complete at the Ram 28-yard line to Rodney Coleman. Jim Collins in on the tackle for Los Angeles, and the Bengals with 2 minutes and 2 seconds left. Now timeout on the field. They couldn't get the play run off. The Bengals trying to get something going, moving just a little bit too slow, but there are 2 minutes left to go in the ball game. The Los Angeles Rams leading the Cincinnati Bengals 17-7, and we'll be right back in just a moment. 2 minutes to go in the ball game. He trails the Rams 17-7, and the possibility of losing his 4th straight game with an ineffective quarterback in Kenny Anderson. And there's James Brooks we just got through talking about. Each team has 2 timeouts left, and there's James Brooks, who has been on the bench for the better part of a half.
Exactly. James Brooks, of course, a big play man all those years at San Diego. They traded Pete Johnson for James Brooks, and now they're going to send him in and try and get that. 1st and 10
for the Bengals at the Ram 28-yard line. And Anderson's back to pass again. Going deep, intended for Collinsworth. Incomplete, but there's a flag on the play.
Leroy Irvin grabbed Collinsworth as he was trying to get by. You know that famous elbow that one of the defensive backs use to prevent the receiver from going around him? That time Collinsworth a little out, move, Irvin held him, and that's the call.
Fred Silva, the referee today with the call.
Defense, number 47, pass interference on the 10-yard line.
I have to wonder why Leroy Irvin was settling in that position. He knows the point in the game that they sometimes have to get in the end zone. Still, he was settling. Collinsworth was going by him. He grabbed him, pass interference.
And a 1st down for Cincinnati at the Ram 10-yard line, just outside the 10-yard line. Here's Anderson again. Quick pass to Collinsworth, touchdown. Kenny Anderson on a quick slant pass to Chris Collinsworth scores, and there's a Ram down on the field. It looks like Gary Green, who injured his arch last week in Pittsburgh, is down again.
Remember last week, Gary Green fell and injured his arch. Lewis Lipp scored. The Rams went on to lose that game. Here again, Gary Green is covering Collinsworth. Collinsworth inside on him. Good throw, low by Anderson. Green can't get to it. And the Cincinnati Bengals pull a little closer.
Green walking off on his own power. Now, 17-13, and you sit up and you think with a minute 49 left, the Bengals have 2 timeouts left, the Rams have 1, and you look at the special teams unit on the sidelines right there for Cincinnati. We watched them in practice yesterday, and we watched them practice an onside kick.
I think that's what you'll see, the onside kick. They need the extra point. They'll be down by 3, then they'll need to get another quick score, get the ball back.
Jim Breach to attempt the extra point. And it's good. So Chris Collinsworth on a touchdown reception from Kenny Anderson, and now the Bengals are within 3.
And the place this ball is thrown low, Collinsworth, great concentration, goes down to get it. Green had no chance. He comes over the top. And now the Bengals trail by 3 with 1:49 left. There's Green on the ground.
Holding his left shoulder, yeah.
Holding his left shoulder. And when the game's on the line, you go to old reliable. Anderson goes to the man he knows he can trust, and that's Collinsworth.
Well, I tell you what, we're about to see some action now. If your prediction is true and this onside kick comes up, this is and has the potential of being one of the most exciting plays in all of pro football. And the Rams totally expect an onside kick. They're putting 9 men up front, 9 men who they consider to have the best hands on the club. That's usually wide receivers, some defensive backs.
And look at little Jim Breach, all 5'6", 161 of them, exhorting his teammates, come on, let's get that onside kick. Let's get that ball back so our offense can go down and score.
A minute 49 left to go in the ball game. The Rams have Newsom, Irvin, Hill, Crutchfield, Otis Grant up front.
Here it comes.
Action time. They go back the other way. And it's picked up by Mike Guman. And Mike Guman is going to score. Los Angeles touchdown.
They gambled. They sent all of their guys one way to the right side, and then they kicked it back the other way to try to fool the Rams. It backfires. Sam Weiss, perhaps he's outguessing himself. Perhaps he tried to be too tricky, too slick. It didn't work.
Mike Guman. We talked about the Rams totally expected the onside kick, putting men up front who they feel have the very best hands on the club. Certainly Mike Guman fits into that category. A perfect role player coming out of the backfield catching passes. Caught the ball on a bounce. Goes in for the score. Mike Lansford in for the extra point attempt. And it's good.
There is a time when you can outthink yourself. The Cincinnati Bengals try to fool the Rams, as they did before on that fake punt when it did work. But here, on the onside kick, take a look at it here again. Watch all the players on the Cincinnati Bengals come to the near sideline, the lower part of your screen. He kicks it back the other way, hoping that they'll find him off guard. No dice. Breach tries to make the tackle. No way. Guman takes it in for the touchdown. And the Rams lead 24-14. This game is over. A
44-yard kickoff return, and the ball bounced perfectly to Guman. He couldn't have asked for a better bounce. Right up into his arms. 44 yards later, the Rams on the scoreboard. They lead now 24-14. So once again, you know, those bad bounces, the bad luck.
Question of strategy also, Jim. Did they bring it on themselves? Should they have played it straight and gone with the percentages? It's a decision by this man, Sam Weiss, in his first year here in Cincinnati. A lot of heat. He'll be 0-4 after today.
And it's a decision that I'm sure will keep him up tonight.
Yes,
and everyone will second guess him. It's one of those things that if it works, you're a hero, but when it doesn't, look out. Here's Mike Lansford. Squib kicking down the middle. That's Mike Martin. And Mike Martin fights his way up to about the 25-yard line before he's tackled there by Mark Giroux. 1 minute, 38 seconds left to go in the ball game. The Rams on top of the Cincinnati Bengals, 24-14. The Rams behind young Jeff Kemp, getting his first pro start. Looking as though he has been working and rehearsing all year long, which he has been. He told us last night that he had been rehearsing. That's the word that he used. But on the other side, Kenny Anderson has not had a good afternoon, and Anderson is back to pass. Going deep for James Brooks out of the backfield. And there's a flag on the play.
Looks like they're going to call it offensive pass interference. That's the way the referee pointed on James Brooks pushing on Leroy Irvin.
Kenny Anderson, 17 of 29. There's the call. Pass interference against Cincinnati. 17 of 29 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions.
An important win for the Rams. They now go 2-2. They're still in the hunt with San Francisco. Obviously, it's early. They've proved they could win with adversity. Ferragamo out, a new quarterback, and they pull off a win.
Offensive pass interference, number 21. First down.
Penalty called against James Brooks.
And not only with Ferragamo down, with Eric Dickerson sitting out most of the fourth quarter. And Jeff Kemp, remember what he told us? He said, you know, nothing's been easy for me. I was second string in high school. I was second string at Dartmouth.
First and 10 at the 25. Anderson's back to pass. Pass intended for Isaac Curtis. The Bengals record with 1:24 to go. Now we'll go to 0-4. But there is some light, I guess, out of this whole bad scene as far as Cincinnati is concerned, because the entire AFC Central Division is not off to a very good start.
When you look at it, Cleveland going into today was 0-3, Houston 0-3. The outcome of the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game will have a lot to do with where Cincinnati finishes. They'll be 0-4 today. It's a long way to come back, though.
Especially when you're having the kind of luck that the Bengals have had. Anderson for Collinsworth. Vince Newsom David Crudup and Jim Collins in on the coverage.
And Cleveland is leading Pittsburgh 17-10 in the fourth quarter. Of course, these Bengals go to take on the Steelers next week.
A minute, 19 seconds left to go in the ball game. The Rams about to even their record at 2-2. The Bengals about to go 0-4. The pressure and the sack, Greg Meisner. Greg Meisner and Jack Youngblood in on the sack. And there is a sarcastic cheer from the crowd here in Cincinnati.
And the people coach, John Robinson, the man who said he learned so much from John Madden, kept his team together when Ferragamo got hurt, pulled them together behind Jeff Kemp starting his first NFL game, and comes away with a victory, a big win.
Last week, on the plane ride back to Los Angeles, you would think that it might be a graveyard, but not so. John Robinson will not let his men get down. He wants them to act the same way when they win as when they lose, and in the long run, it'll pay off. And today it has. Pat McAnally punting for the Bengals. Henry Eller just lets the ball roll into Ram territory, taking a Bengal bounce, and stops at about the Ram 45-yard line.
And just the way the whole quarterback problem could have been handled. He went out and got Steve Dills. That in itself, Dills as a functional backup, gave Jeff Kemp a vote of confidence. So it was handled very well. Look at this. San Francisco makes the Ram task a little bit tougher. 21-9, fourth quarter. Jets come back against Buffalo. They lead 28-19. That also fourth quarter.
New Orleans over St. Louis by 3 in the fourth quarter. It's Atlanta over Houston big by 25. Minnesota leading Detroit by 5 in the fourth period. Cleveland over Pittsburgh 20-10 in the fourth quarter.
Cincinnati likes to see that.
Washington over New England 26-10.
That's a final. Ooh, Washington on the road back. Washington now 2-2.
35 seconds left to go in the ball game. The Rams now will just sit on it. And young Jeff Kemp has had a very successful outing. His first professional start coming in under adverse conditions, leading the Los Angeles Rams as they now will run their record to 2-2. The score 24-14.
And do you think those guys from Washington will run home to watch that second game here on CBS? Watch Dallas. Dallas 2-1. Of course, they're leading the division. Now Washington 2-2. If Dallas wins today, they'll be 3-1. Playing Green Bay next here on CBS.
So as the clock runs out, 3, 2, and 1, that's the end of our ball games. Great job by the whole technical crew here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. So for John Dockery, this is Jim Hill saying so long from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Again, the final score, the Los Angeles Rams 24, the Cincinnati Bengals 14. Stay tuned for CBS Sports NFL doubleheader continues as the Green Bay Packers meet the Dallas Cowboys. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League will continue after this word from your local station.